The role of fasting is incredible. What it can do in our bodies, what it can do for our metabolic disease, what it can do for our diabetes. But the role of mindset is in fasting is pivotal, right? Ensuring that we get both the success that we want and the sustained ability to reverse our diabetes. Whether you're doing this because you want to lose weight, whether you want to do this because you want to improve your metabolic disease, or whether you're doing this because you feel you just want to be healthier, whatever the reason, the mindset plays a huge part in how this happens and how successful you are. And so tonight we're going to spend some time talking about how does mindset play into fasting. Hey, if you're new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, y'all, new year, new you. That's right. I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to put their diabetes in remission, who want to get off of medication, who want to improve their metabolic health. That's what we do right here. If you're new to me as well, go ahead and put new in the comments because I would love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music. And let you know that we're glad that you're here. If you have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. Make sure you put a Q in front of them so that we know that that is a question that we need to get to. Hey. If you are catching us for the first time, hey, welcome to the show. Welcome to the platform. Welcome to the community. I have been working on fasting, and here in just, let's see, just about 3 hours or so, I will be would have fasted for 48 hours. That's right, 48 hours, and you're just on the cusp of that. That's about 2/3 of the way in, so we're going to 72 hours this week. At least that's the plan that we're going to do. We may go a little longer, but we'll start it out with 72 hours. I think by the time I do my check-in on Friday, it's going to be a little longer, but that's okay. We've been using fasting as a tool in our toolbox to help reverse diabetes. That's right. That's what we're doing. That's where we're heading. And this is an amazing tool that we've been using. If you've not seen our shows, go ahead and catch us on the YouTube channel. That's Dwain Woode MD. All of those are there. In fact, there is a playlist that's called How to Reverse Diabetes. There's a playlist that's called How to Fast Successfully. All of those are there, and you can be sure to get out there, take a look at all of those shows that we've done because they are a great way for you to begin catching up with where we are. All right, so as you know, the way we do it here on the show, I've got some things that we're going to be looking at. I've got my monitors. Let me pop over there. So I've got my meters that we're going to be taking a look at here in just a minute. These are my glucose meters. I've got my report that you see down at the bottom that we'll take a look at in just a minute as well. And let's see, let's pop this. I think this is switched just a little. There we go. All right, so you can see that a little bit better. Okay, so I've got my monitors. I got my Dexcom report that we're going to look at in just a minute. But before we get there, why don't we go ahead and, like I do on a check-in, and actually every time I go live, I want to do a check-in for you so that you can see how I'm doing, and we do that mentally, physically, and emotionally, right? Or physically, mentally, and emotionally. Let's get this here situated. Hold on a second. Here we go. Okay, how we're doing physically, mentally, and emotionally as we continue in the fast. I shouldn't say get into it because we've been fasting, and as we continue in the fast, we want to know how we're feeling because those are the questions that people will have about fasting. What is going on, and how are you feeling? Okay, so let's hop over and let's take a look at that right now. So physically, I always want to start there because it is probably the most common place where people find themselves having issues. And when I talk physically, I want to talk about how I'm doing, in terms of lightheadedness, dizziness, sweatiness, palpitations, all of those things that we associate with either low blood sugar or decreased volume, that is hypotension, low, if we're not doing a good job of hydrating. All of those things can show up in this space. Also, because if we're fasting long enough, the body will begin switching the source of energy, right? Going from carbohydrates to going to burning ketones. And so during that transition, sometimes people will feel kind of a lower energy, and they perceive that as a fasting issue. Okay. And that can sometimes happen, as I said, as a transition. One of the things that happens, though, is if you are fatigued because you've not been resting, then that will show up in this space, and people sometimes will think that it is a fasting issue. And it's really not a fasting issue, but it is hey, I didn't rest well. Okay? So physically, I'm actually feeling good. We came off of the heels of the holidays, and we were away over the weekend, doing some traveling, spending time with family. My son, my wife, and I went down to Tampa and hung out there and had an amazing time. And if you saw the show on Monday, you saw some of the things that we ate while we were there. Right? Go back and watch that. But physically feeling quite good. Mentally, because of fasting, once again, sometimes people will. If they're having lower blood sugars, they're feeling a little bit lightheaded or dizzy, they're feeling fatigued, sometimes they'll feel kind of a little dullness in their mentation. Once again, if you're doing a good job of getting into the fast, then this area is not as big a deal. In fact, if you do well, if you are going into the fast and you're well rested, well hydrated, and you are doing an extended fast, and when I say extended fast, we're talking about fasts that are 24 hours or longer, you will begin feeling some mental clarity as the body is transitioning from burning glucose, carbohydrates, to burning ketones. In fact, earlier than that, once you get past that 12 to 18 hour mark, then you begin to feel some of that mental clarity because the body is now converting fat into ketones, and the brain likes ketones, right? It gets that mental clarity. So mentally, I'm feeling good, coming off the heels, like I said, of hanging out with the family, physically feeling well, not feeling tired or fatigued and so forth. And so I've been 45 hours of fasting. So I'm well beyond that initial transition from carbohydrates to ketones. And so I'm feeling mentally clear, not foggy, not groggy, not dull. And then how am I feeling emotionally? And this has been great. All right, so we had a short week, hung out with the family, did some traveling, had a good time where we were down in Tampa, and came back and really were just enjoying this week of hanging out with my family, going to work. Had an amazing week so far, and so I'm just emotionally, I'm pumped. Right, looking forward to the rest of this week and looking forward to the weekend coming up. So not an issue right there. So physically, mentally, and emotionally feeling good. Now, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and we're going to pop over here for just a minute, and we're going to take a look at what my blood sugars are doing based on not just my continuous glucose monitors, but also based on the monitors that you saw. And let me pull those up here really quickly so you can see those again. Let's see. Here we are. So you'll see on the screen that right now my Libre is saying that my blood sugar is 61. Okay, and we're going to take a look at what these guys are showing. This is my Keto Mojo meter, which gives me both blood sugar and ketones. And this is my Contour that gives me blood sugar. And let me pop over here and let's go ahead and do that. What I want to do, actually, let me do this. This is my, let me do one thing before I do that, because right now my phone is in low power mode. Let's turn that off. There we go. So it doesn't. All right, so here we are. So, so here is my Libre. And right now my Libre is saying that I'm 62. And then if I go over to my Dexcom, it's saying 96, right? So people look at that and say, hey, that's a big difference. It is a big difference. So let's go ahead and let's hop over and let's see what these guys are going to say, right? So first, let me get a strip for, this is the Contour. And then, like I said, I have two strips for the Keto Mojo. One is a ketone strip and one is a glucose strip. We're going to start with the glucose strip first. Go ahead and get that opened. Get that strip in here. All right, pop this over here. And then for my little container, we have my strips and, of course, my lancets. I'm going to grab one of these, actually two of them, just in case I need another. And these are spring-loaded. So in this one, we got the white cap and the lancet is in the purple part. This one, we got the purple cap and the lancet is in the white cap. They're pretty much the same. And basically, you break this part off. And these are uni sticks, I believe, because you stick once. And there's a spring-loaded lancet in there. So when I hit that lever, the lancet comes out and it gives me a stick in my finger. I'm going to hold this up to the mic so you can hear, hopefully, as I get that. Okay, you should hopefully hear that. I think that's a pretty good stick. Let's see. Yep, good drop of blood. All right, get that going. And then let's see a drop of blood here for the Contour. And while that's going, I need to keep a drop of blood for when I do the ketone. Okay, so 86 and 85. So let's go back over and let's take a look at this, right? So here my Libre said that it was 63. The Contour says 85. The Keto Mojo says 86. And then my Dexcom says 96. Okay, so anywhere from 60s to 90s. Let me go ahead and take this strip out, and I want to do a ketone strip. Let's get that in here. And let's go ahead and get that going. What do you think my ketones are going to be? So 40, 45-ish hours. And of course, as I do, I'm not going to show that to you. I'm going to let that run, and then I'm going to switch over here, and we'll come back and we'll take a look at that in just a little while. So what do you think? What do you think is going to be? What do you think is going to be? All right. So while that's over there running, let's go ahead and let's get into our discussion. And so fasting mindset, the fasting mindset is what we want to talk about tonight in this episode. And the reason for that is that the fasting concept can sometimes seem daunting to some people. And actually, let me pop over just before I go into that. I do see one of our community members popping in, and Steve is saying that he thinks that my ketones are going to be 2.6. 2.6 is what he's thinking they're going to be. And remember, we've been fasting now for a little bit, 45-ish, I see, 11, 12, 1. So 40, so it'll be 48 hours in another 2.5 hours. Okay, so 45 point some. So he's saying 2.6 is what it is. If you think you know, go ahead and you can pop that in the chat as well. And we'll come back and we'll take a look at that here in just a moment. Okay, all right. So back to our discussion, and thank you for stopping through, Steve. Glad that you were here, man. So mindset, right? So that's what we're talking about, the fasting mindset. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through and talk about some key concepts, some key aspects of how a positive mindset and mental preparation can influence fasting. As you've heard me say, as we've kind of moved through my check-in, and if you've been following us on the show, following us on the channel, following us with the different shows that we do, you hear me say all the time that the way you prepare for a fast has a significant impact on how successful you are in the fast, and then of course how successful you are as you get to the other side of the fast. So we're going to hop through and we're going to talk about some key concepts. We can talk about setting goals, managing expectations, developing resilience and grit, right? So that's an important one. Mindfulness and self-awareness, visualization, community support, and flexibility, right? So all those we're going to talk about. And if you wait, we're going to have another one, extra one that we'll talk about here in just a little while. So let's hop through. So concept number one, setting goals. And this goes back really to something that we talked about way at the beginning of the year when we started on the New Year, New You process. And that is, what is the reason for what we're doing, right? So establishing clear, realistic goals is fundamental in any fasting regimen. Because if you don't do that, then that sets us up for difficulty. Let me back up, right? So a positive mindset starts with knowing why you're fasting, right? That could be for weight loss. It could be for, reversing diabetes, as we are using it here for. It could be for improving some markers that you have, right? So you want to improve your blood sugar. You want to improve your A1C. If you recall, several weeks ago, we did a show where we talked about A1C and labs and so forth. And I have been tracking those labs. In fact, I have some new labs, and this Friday, I'm going to be seeing my physician and reviewing those labs, and then we'll come back and we'll talk to you guys about what those are. And so you've seen, I think, maybe 4 sets of labs now, starting from September of last year. Into was that May or June of this year? So we'll take a look at those. But do you want to fast because you're interested in improving those markers, right? So what are the goals? Do I have a goal for my A1C? Do I have a goal for my weight? And I had a goal for my weight starting in March of last year, right? So the goal was to do 52 pounds in 1 year, so 1 pound a week. That was our goal. So what is your goal? Is it to lower the blood sugar by a certain amount, right? We tell our folks that we want them to have blood sugars that are between 100 and 120. That's our goal for most people with blood sugar. If your blood sugar is much higher than that, what is your goal? What's the initial goal that you want to set in terms of getting that blood sugar together? What is your A1C goal, right? And we'll take a look here in a little bit to see what my A1C average is based on what the blood sugars are. So what is your A1C goal? So number one, you want to set goals, right? Goal setting, very, very important. The next thing is you want to manage expectations, right? And this kind of goes back, both of these, setting goals and managing expectations, goes back to this whole idea of SMART goals, okay? So if you understand what to expect, including potential physical and emotional discomforts, right? Because sometimes people will see that. As I mentioned during the check-in, sometimes people feel that dip in their blood sugar, the dip in their energy level, and that can derail them if they're not expecting that. Your body remembers. So what happens during this fast sets you up for either success or to have a difficulty in following fast, because your brain will say to you, oh no, remember that last time when we did such and such, or that last time when we expected this to happen and that didn't happen? Okay. So are you expecting hunger pangs, irritability, right? Temporary decrease in energy. All of those things you've got to have a realistic expectations of what is going to happen, or at least know that there are some things that are going to happen and understand what is happening. So a well prepared mind can recognize all of those things I just described as normal. These are normal transient things that are going on in the process of getting into the fast and getting through the fast. And if you expect them, if you understand them, if your brain is saying, okay, this is what we may see, then that sets you up for success. Otherwise, if remember frustration happens when expectations are not met. That's where frustration comes in. Okay, number next, resilience. Develop resilience and grit. Develop resilience and grit. Fasting tests your discipline and resilience. Yep, I said it. There it is. Right. So a positive mindset fosters resilience. If you go into this saying, okay, this is not going to work, or I can't fast, guess what's going to happen? That's what's going to happen. Here's an interesting concept. Your brain does not ever want you to be wrong. So it will always find a way to confirm what you are thinking. So if you think you can't do it, then the brain will say, okay, you think you can do it. She thinks she can do it. He thinks he can't do it. So let's go ahead and let's make sure that they can't do it. And it will find every way of trying to derail you, right? It'll make you hungry. It'll make you eat. It'll make you irritable. It'll make you enjoy the smell of that food that's being prepared. Right? So remember, the brain does not like that. It doesn't want you to be wrong. So it will find ways of making you wrong. So developing this idea of resilience and grit and saying, hey, a positive mindset. Let me say that. Positive mindset. It allows you to push through difficult moments. Mental preparation helps to build grit. And that grit is needed to be able to adhere to the fasting schedule despite temptations. You remember the heat model? The heat model is full of temptations, right? Those are the triggers. Those are the things that push us. And so having this mental resilience to say, okay, that didn't work this time, or, hey, even though that last thing didn't go the way we thought it was going to go, I can do this. And then being able to push through the heat model. A big part of pushing through the heat model is being prepared, understanding what your trigger is. And I've told you that my trigger when it comes to the heat model is EAT, emotions, access, and taste. So having a way of managing, of dealing with emotions, access, and taste helps set you up for success. So this idea of grit doesn't just have to be, okay, I'm going to grin and bear it. The white knuckling, no, it is setting up in your space the things that will help you to be successful. Okay, so developing resilience and grit. And then mindfulness and self-awareness. Mindfulness and self-awareness. And this goes back to a lot of things that we have talked about even in eating, right? Mindful eating. Being able to say where you are at a particular time. The power of now. Understanding that right now I'm feeling hungry. Right now I'm feeling tired. Right now I'm feeling bored or frustrated or depressed. Being able to be self-aware because you are in the mindful frame, this helps to enhance the fasting experience because you are right now dealing with the things that are right now. What does that mean? Well, when you're fasting, during the fasting process, you are not able to use food as a buffer. When we do a lot of buffering behaviors. That is, we use food as a way of either avoiding or trying to change something that we're feeling. And when we are not eating, when we're fasting, now we've got to be able to tap into those other parts of our brain, those other parts of our cells that help us to move through those things that were causing us to buffer. Because we don't have the buffer anymore. And now we've got to face it head on. And so it can be a challenge. I'm going to tell you, it can be a challenge. Because fasting is both a physical, well, I should say both. It is a physical, it is a mental, and it is an emotional process. So the awareness, right, this mindfulness and this idea of self-awareness, this can promote better control over eating during the fasting process, and it leads to more successful fasting outcome. Okay, so you don't end up breaking the fast or having those emotional, those fights that we have, and then we feel guilty because we broke the fast. And then visualization. And visualization is a very important one because visualization is a powerful tool for maintaining a positive mindset. Right? Imagine the successful completion of the fast. In fact, when I came back from my trip, right? When I came back from my trip, my plan was to actually, once I got home, to start fasting that day. But I came home and, all the busyness of coming back from the trip and getting back into the week and all of that, right? And then, I had eaten a bunch of carbs. And so my blood sugars were high. The insulin came out. And so the insulin was stimulating my appetite. And in order to get myself through that, I began visualizing, okay, on Friday, I'm going to be ending my fast. Notice what I did. I didn't even start by saying on when was that? Monday, Monday morning, I was going to start the fast. I'm visualizing the end of the fast because I'm working my way all the way through the fast. I'm not starting at the beginning, right? So imagining the successful completion of a fast or visualizing the health benefits can keep you motivated through the fast. This also involves kind of foreseeing potential challenges and mentally strategizing, preparing for ways to overcome them. When we did our show on strategies for getting back on track, that was one of the ideas. Right? So what are the strategies that we're going to prepare ahead of time so that if we get off track, or in this case, if we start to have struggles, and I shouldn't say if, when we start to have struggles, that we already have those things in place and those will push us through. Okay? So visualization, visualizing the end of the fast, the successful completion of the fast. And then community and support. Let's back up. Sorry. Flexibility. Let's go to flexibility. So mental flexibility allows you to adjust based on your physical, emotional, and I'm going to throw in there mental responses. So being too rigid in what you do, for example, on my trip, right? I started my fast early so I could end it early so I can go on my trip. But had I decided to go on the trip fasting, when I got there and I had those, let's see, what did I have? Do I have this here? I'm gonna pull this up. So these are the things I ate, right? And so when I got there and sat at the table and said, okay, it's my anniversary, it's my son's birthday, we're here on vacation, I could have said, hey, no, I'm not eating any of that stuff. I'm sticking to what I decided I was going to do. But what I did, I was flexible. I said, I'm starting the fast early. So by the time we left and went on the trip, I had already fasted for, I think last week was 90 hours. So I'd already gotten that in. So be flexible. You're in a situation where there is community. And one of the reasons that we do what we do is because of community. right? We want to remain healthy so that we can be in community. So be willing to be flexible. Now, I'm not talking about throwing everything out of the window, right? The baby with the bathwater. But I'm talking about being able to say, okay, I can pause my fast and come back, right? So a positive mindset includes being kind to yourself and making necessary adjustments to fasting lengths and schedules as is needed. Maybe 1 week I'll come on and instead of doing a 72-hour fast, I'll do a 48-hour fast, or maybe even a 24-hour fast. That's okay. That can be done because that allows allows for flexibility. Okay, so community and support. Having a supportive community like we have here, right, can enhance the mental preparation for fasting. So sharing your experiences, like Steve does, right, and Jennifer and Teresa and all of you who come on when you're here. I love that. So sharing those experiences enhances the community, and that helps you move through the fast successfully. I can't tell you the number of people that have come through the office or sent me messages, say, hey, I'm proud of what you're doing. And I say to them immediately, I said, one of the reasons that I'm successful is because of you. For you here on the channel, here in the community, and for people who are coming through the office, people who are in my church that are saying, hey, I like what I see. Because that gives me encouragement. It gives me support. It gives me fellowship. But amazing. And it is invaluable what that will do because it gives us insights. Even here on the channel, when we talk, I get insights from you. Okay? So all of that. So community, very, very, very important. And y'all, you ready? Are you ready? I said if you hung around, we're gonna give you another one. And here it is. You ready for it? You have got to celebrate milestones. Celebrate milestones. I'm excited when I hear that, hey, I am, I'm 24 hours in, I'm 48 hours in, I'm 72 hours in, I'm, wherever you are, I'm very excited. And you want to celebrate those milestones. Recognizing and celebrating milestones during the fasting journey can provide positive reinforcement, y'all. And this will boost your morale. Even small successes, like completing a 1-day fast, completing a 24-hour. That was one of our challenges, right? Work your way up to completing a 24-hour fast once a week. And the first one was just fast for 24 hours. It doesn't even have to be once a week. Just get in the 24 hours. And if you're out there watching right now, that's what I want you to do, right? Begin working your way up, fasting for 24 hours. But if you can do those, if you can go through that process, that allows for success in fasting. And that's the fasting mindset. How do we prepare? How do we go through? How do we do the things that we need to do to be successful in the fast? Because if we can go through this process, if we can go through and make sure that all of these things are where they need to be, then we will have a successful fast. So that is setting goals, right? So very, very important in setting goals. Have realistic expectations. Know what to expect as you are getting into the fast. So managing your expectations. Let me put that back on the screen so we can so I can run through those with you, right? So setting goals, manage expectations, develop resilience and grit. Here it is. Mindfulness and self-awareness, visualization, community and support, being flexible, and then celebrating those milestones. So important that we do that. All right. Well, let's hop over and let's take a look at what is going on, or what was going on, let me say it that way, with my blood sugars over the last little bit. Let's see. Let's go here. Okay. All right. If you've not done so, this month we've been talking about calories and exercise and food and burning those calories. So make sure you get over there and you watch the shows. We've had some amazing shows the last several weeks as we got into this month. Okay. All right. Before we go over to my meters, Steve said he just checked his ketones and they were 2.3. Yes. So Steve, what hour of fasting are you at right now? What fasting hour are you at right now? Drop that in the comments for us. And for those of you who may be out there, what fasting hour are you at? Have you fasted? Well, first of all, are you fasting this week? Yes or no? Okay, let's start there. Yes or no? And I do see a question out here. Let's see. Miss Latoya said, let me see if I can pull that over here, maybe. She said, what? Huh. I want to see if I can pull her comment onto the screen, and maybe I won't be able to do that, but I'll read it if I can't do that. Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to pull it all onto the screen, but that's okay. I'll read it. She says, do you recommend low carb and high protein when breaking a fast? Oh, I love this question. This is a great question. And by the way, thank you for joining us. Let me give you a hand clap and some music. Right. So Miss Latoya, and there's a Latoyage, which is a J, because I see that J at the end. Let me do this first. So do you recommend low carb and high protein when breaking the fast? So when we're breaking the fast, there are a couple of things that we want to remember, okay? Or keep in mind. Let me say it that way. And in fact, I probably can pull this up. Latoya, let me do this real quick, and I can actually pull it up onto the screen. But when we're breaking a fast, the way we break the fast has a lot to do with the success of the fast. Okay, and you've probably heard me say that before. And the reason for that is that in the fast, we're trying to accomplish some metabolic, some health, some wellness goals. And how we come out of that fast can determine whether we unravel some of the things we did during the fast. Okay? So what I recommend is that when you're breaking the fast, you avoid highly processed foods, that you avoid high carbohydrate foods. Okay? And in fact, here it is, right? And the reason for that is because when we're coming off the fast, if we have a high carb, if we have high sugar, that forces our insulin to have to come up. And when insulin comes up, we will soon get out of ketosis. So if you're breaking the fast and you want to remain a little longer in ketosis, then you want to minimize the carbs that you're eating. So that's the first thing. If you eat something that has high carb, then of course you get that spike in blood sugar. When you get the spike in blood sugar, your insulin now comes up, and the insulin begins to make you hungry. So insulin will stimulate the appetite. That's number 2. When your insulin comes up, insulin automatically begins to store. So the things that you're eating now begin turning back into fat, or into the stored form. So we get out of ketosis faster if we eat high carbs. We have stimulation of an appetite if we have high carbs. And we begin putting on weight. All three things that we are now trying to avoid. Okay? So we want to make sure that we're minimizing the carbohydrates. And of course, as Latoya said, the protein that you're eating will help to satiate you and keep you in ketosis. It won't spike the blood sugar. It won't cause the insulin to come up, and that suppresses or keeps the appetite suppressed. And because it's protein, it's going to be burned in a way that it doesn't immediately begin putting on weight. Okay, so those are the three reasons why I recommend what I do recommend in terms of blood sugar and breaking the fast. So very, very good question. I love that question. Okay, all right, and then before we go to my report, I saw that Steve was answering a question. He said that I ended a 24-hour fast at 5 o'clock. I will do a 24 at 5 tomorrow. All right. Yes. Hand clap, Steve. Steve says, I ate my first bread tonight, ate a bacon, egg, and cheese grilled sandwich. I had protein in the cheese and bacon, had fat in the bacon, and I had a serving of avocado, 3 eggs. I had 0 spike in my glucose. I love it. Keto bread. I love that, Steve. Awesome. All right. So let's hop over. So thank you for sharing that with us, Steve. Let's hop over and let's take a look at what my reports are saying. Okay, so my report right down here. I'm going to keep those ketones here in just a minute. All right, so if you look at my report, you'll see that my blood sugar average over the last 2 weeks has been 127. Okay, and you guys will recall that we're coming off of the heels of, birthday, anniversary, of course, trip to Tampa. And we shared with you on Monday, and I'll put that up again on our show, some of the things that we did eat on that trip. Okay, and there they are. And also shared with you some blood sugars. So let's hop back over here. And let's take a look at what my 90-day average blood sugar is. And you see average 108 with an estimated a GMI, glucose management indicator, down there that is 5.9. And so that says that if I got an A1C based on what my blood sugars are, they would be 5.9. I'm in target 89% of the time. You see that right there. And that's an average or target of 70 to 180. If I look at my daily reports, they'll pull up there, and we're going to go back and we're going to take a look over the last several days, because we shared the spikes that you saw for blood sugar based on the food that we ate back here. So Sunday was when we got home, and you'll see the residuals of some of the things that we had eaten coming into Monday morning, right? And so right at about midnight-ish was when we stopped eating. Okay, and so we're 11:47 right now. And you'll see here's the spike. That spike is probably something that we ate just before we started fasting. And you'll see for the rest of that day, and that's now Tuesday, coming into Tuesday morning, we got down into the 80s. And then coming into Wednesday morning, so now right at Wednesday, let's say it was let's do 1 o'clock just as a time. Say we ended our fast, or we started our fast at 1 o'clock. So at 1 o'clock on Tuesday night, we were right at 133. We got that bump up to about 188. Okay, 211 was the highest that we got right there. And then 24 hours later, at 1 o'clock, we're at 94, 95. And then for the rest of that day, rest of today, right, we're down in the hundreds or 90s. So right here about 1 o'clock, here in another hour plus, hour 12 minutes, then we will be 48 hours. Right? So 24 right here, and then 48 hours. And so with that, let's go and let's see if Steve was correct in his assessment of what my ketones would be. So let me do this. I'm gonna hop over here and I have to take this out, and let me get my Keto Mojo meter app up. All right, let's pull that over and get my meter turned on, and we should see that beginning to sync there in just a minute. And if it doesn't, we'll kind of force it to sync by hitting this sync button. There he goes. And so now you see it's syncing. And so Steve said 2.3 is, I think, is what his was, and he was estimating that mine would be 2.6. Well, let's see what it is, Steve. All right, so blood sugar of 86, that's what it was, and my ketones are 0.6. Look at that, ketones are 0.6. So when we talk about ketones, remember, ketones that are below 0.5 are considered normal, 0.5 to 1.5 considered therapeutic, and above 1.5 is considered nutritional ketosis. And you'll see here on the screen, these are the graphs. The turquoise line those are ketones, and then the tan line, that's blood sugar. So as my blood sugar has gone down, remember, as blood sugar goes down, insulin also goes down. As insulin goes down, then ketones come up. And you see there that we went from low, I think is what it was, 0, back when we checked in on Monday, and we're up now to 0.6. Okay, so I expect over the next 24 hours, as we get into 72 hours coming up tomorrow, and then even to the next day, Friday morning, that we would have higher ketones. Okay, so that's what I would expect as we go through. Awesome. All right. Let's see. Any other comments or questions? Yeah, just drop those in there if you have additional questions, and we'll get to those. All right. So I do want to talk to you about a couple of things. Number one is this idea of reversing diabetes. I did a talk earlier today to a group at my church, and one of the points that I made to them is that diabetes can be reversed. And now we're talking about type 2 diabetes, okay? So remember, that's where we are. So type 2 diabetes can be reversed. So if nobody has said that to you, yes, it can, right? So reversing diabetes in 2024, that's our goal, right? We are moving in that direction. And one of the amazing tools that we have is this idea of fasting. So we want to set ourselves up for success throughout the fasting process. And this idea of having a positive mindset or changing our mindset is very important. That's why I want to make sure that you get this, that setting goals, very important. Managing expectations through the fasting process, right? What am I going to expect? Developing resilience and grit, being mindful and self-aware of what's going on, visualizing the success that you have, right? So like I'm visualizing that I'm going to be ending my fast on Friday. The community support that's right here, right? The questions that come from, for example, Miss Latoya, the comments that we're getting from Steve, the rest of you that are out there that may be sending messages on other platforms or sharing this with other people. That is very important because it helps you support or gives you support. And being flexible, understanding that it is a process. When we started, there were several people who could not fast for 24 hours. So they were at 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours, and they've worked their way up now, and they're fasting for 74 hours, right? We have people that are fasting for 96 hours. Several weeks ago, we did a 107-hour fast. But understanding that fasting is a tool that you use when you need it. But you can reverse diabetes. The success that you have, The success that you have comes through education, empowerment, and encouragement. And at your fingertips, the potential for success is there. It is unlimited. You have unlimited ability to engage, to learn, to develop tools, to optimize the tools, to use those tools, to set yourself up in a space where you can be successful in this process. And that comes through education, empowerment, and encouragement, just like we do here on the channel. That's the triple E formula for success that we talk about. We educate with the shows that we do, the podcast, the blog. All of that is with the intention of changing your perspective, doing a frame shift, a mindset change, developing a growth mindset. We educate, we empower with the tools that we learn. All of the tools, fasting, the heat model, emotional intelligence, how to create a menu. All of those are tools that allow you to put the things that we learn into practice. Don't just let this be something that's on the shelf. You can begin learning. You can be successful. Remember, that's part of the potential in the unlimited thought that I just gave. And then we encourage, and the encouragement comes from the community that we are creating. I want you to know that I love this community because you helped me as well. This is not just one side. This is not just me telling you stuff, but you are a part of my support group, and I love that. And I love the way you guys interact and share your stories and all the things that we do. And then remember, as we're going through the fasting, that mindfulness that we talked about in terms of, or mindfulness and self-awareness in the mindset discussion we just had, the things that will push us through those decisions that we've made are given in the HEAT model. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. The habits that we formed of eating, not just because we're hungry, but just because, right? So it's noon, so we're going to eat even though I'm not hungry. We go to the movies, we're going to have popcorn. We sit down with the family to play cards, go bowling, go skating, and we're going to eat something simply because we've associated eating with those things, with those activities, those social cues. We also eat because of emotions. And emotions, it's kind of like being in a roller coaster, right? And you're making your way up the roller coaster. When you get to the top of that pinnacle of the roller coaster, it doesn't matter what you do. You can yell, scream, shout, you can jump up and down, but that car is coming down the other side. And that's the same thing that happens with our emotions. We tend to allow emotions to get very high. We become very tired, very angry, very depressed, very frustrated. And then we try to stop the emotion when it's at the top. But I'm telling you, once it gets there, it's coming down. And it will break through any decisions you've made about what you're going to eat or what you're not going to eat. You can say that all you want, but when those emotions get strong enough, it's breaking through. So we want to be able to manage and handle and harness those emotions, okay? So we eat because of habits, emotions, access, because things are just there. We walk by the pantry and we grab something, not because we're hungry, but just because it's there. We walk by a coworker's desk and they have something on their desk and we eat it, we grab it, just because it's there. And then we eat because of taste. And taste, we never are chasing the food. We're always chasing what the food does for us. The memory that it brings us back, the place that it takes us to, the calm that it brings to over us. That time when we went to that place and we ate that thing that we felt that way. That's what the food does. The perfect combination of sugar, salt, and fat. The bliss point is what it's called. Where you eat something, you say, I can't just have one, I'm going to have some more. So we eat because of habits, emotions, access, and taste. And then our call to action for you is join the challenges. Here on the channel, every month, we have a challenge that we walk you through. The challenges are here to help you implement the things that we're learning. We've talked about finding your why. That was January. What's your why? What's the reason you're doing this stuff? You're retiring. You guys want to travel. You want to see a granddaughter, a grandson go down the aisle. You want to see somebody graduate. You've been working all these years, and it's just your time to enjoy it. What is your why? in February was to begin working your way to fasting once a week for 24 hours. That's the challenge, right? You can do it with all the things that we just talked about. The heat model in March, figure out which of those things, which of those triggers is yours. I'll tell you, mine is EAT. That's right, EAT. Emotions, access, and taste. All three of those are mine. What's yours? Because if you understand it, then you have a better chance of being able to deal with it. In the month of April, it was to be able to figure out and create a meal, a menu that followed these criteria. Whole foods, minimize processing, no added sugar, starchy and non-starchy vegetables, healthy fats, lean protein, tasty, and appropriate portion size. In May, we asked you to find somebody to mentor in the new year, new process. Teach them, bring them along with you so that we can all begin working and improving together. And then in June, get your labs done. Whatever labs, go back and look at that show so that we know as we are going through the process that we are being healthy, that we're screening and looking at all those things that we need to do to be healthy. And then in this month, what is your thing that you're going to add to your regimen? What is the activity, the exercise that you're going to do so that we can begin sculpting, right? Because that's one of the purposes of exercise. Sculpting, burning some calories, improving our insulin resistance, all of those reasons. What are you going to do? So this month is the challenge. Put that into your regimen. What are we doing as we move in that direction? If you've not seen yet, we started a new feature here on the channel, and it is called This Week in Review. This Week in Review, Sunday mornings at 6 o'clock, where we go and we review the things that we've done over the course of the week, right? All the shows that we have over the course of the week. Make sure you join us Sunday morning. If you have friends and family who've missed it, point them to the channel. Sunday morning, 6 o'clock is when we start that process, and we'd love for them to get here and join us. Hey, as always, I am so glad that you guys are here, so glad that you took time to join us, and I'm glad that you are part of this community. Congratulations to Steve and all of you that are out there that are fasting and are having amazing results, whether it's weight, whether it's improving your rest of your metabolic disease. I have people who are telling me that they're getting off of medication. People who are saying, hey, I've not seen certain weight numbers since I was in high school. That's amazing. And it all happens right here. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. And here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health in your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new year, new you. Glad to see you here. We'll see you tomorrow at the check-in, then Sunday morning at This Week in Review, and on Monday at our show, 7 p.m. Central. Thank you. Good night. We'll see you tomorrow.